Oh yeah, it is on the ground.
Yeah, that should hold this bad boy up. Right? Yeah, well, we push it in. Perfect. Yeah, you should keep them up. We should be good there. Hey everybody, this is Saul Castañeda from MCSC Greenwheels here in Chicago. So what we have here is a 1993 Ford Mustang LX. This used to be a 4-cylinder little everyday grocery getter, and what we're going to do, we are gonna, as you can see, it has no engine. This car was picked up out of Texas, so we wanted to go completely rust free, make sure we had no big gaping holes that the Midwest tends to promote with a lot of these cars. They tend to eat out the salt and all that stuff. If you're buying this car in the Midwest, a couple of the pieces and areas that you really want to pay attention to is right around here in these pillars. A lot of water tends to settle in here, and especially on the driver's side. And from this cross member here, all of this tends to rot out. So this is one of the big areas that you really want to get in here and look to see if that's pretty solid. If not, you'll end up having to replace all of this. This is going to cost you a lot more money because it's going to sit up on kind of like a skewer, where they're going to have to keep the whole car pretty much squared and without letting it lose its integrity. So it does cost more money to get that done. So you always want to make sure you take care and look at this area before you buy any of these cars. I really couldn't tell you why it rusts over here a little bit more. I think that there has the same openings everywhere. I'm not entirely sure why this side tends to rust out even more. A lot of the Fox bodies that we've seen, this guy just takes a little bit more of a beating. It's really unexplainable to me. I really don't know why. But this guy right here, what we had on Reckless was completely, all of this was eaten out, and we didn't see it almost till the end of that, and that was a really big low blow. Got to keep an eye on that. Another area you want to take a look at, at your rear quarter panels. So we got some yeah, we're gonna take care of all that. So it's a little rusty in there. It's nothing too serious. The spare. As we said before, this was a little 4-cylinder grocery getter. Nothing crazy. So in the floor pan, you really want to take a look, see if anything here is solid. This will probably need some light sanding, just to remove the paint, but that's pretty much good floor pan right here. Nothing's crunching, nothing's coming off the bottom. Like we said before, always take a look at your quarters. As we found out again in Reckless, there was newspaper stuffed in them. So let me see these guys out. Alright. The quarters right in here, you always want to make sure there's nothing in here that it's not bondoed up. Nice and solid. A lot of water tends to retain down here, so always want to make sure you clean these out. That's why this car is from Texas. Nice and dry. Very important to look at that. That can cost you some cash and a major setback in getting parts for this bad boy. The Texas sun does do his job. There we go. Yeah, see. This gentleman here who had this car prior to us, he ran his battery back here. But yeah, here are some of the things you want to look at. You want to make sure all this caulk right here is in place. been disturbed. This car was in no accident whatsoever. Everything in here looks nice and dry, nice and solid. It's a good solid piece, good solid find. You want to look at the wheel well. Here's your shock tower right here. You know, all the caulk seems to be in good condition. Everything here is going to be cleaned out. No damage back here whatsoever. Clean car. You want to investigate in here. Make sure none of this is rusting. None of this is rusting through. A lot of people don't clean these out, and you have a lot of buildup of debris, leaves, tree branches, and whatnot. And with water, that just creates a whole bunch of moisture. As you can tell, this car is nice and clean. Everything is in nice straight positions, and this molding, we might be taking it off and repairing it. So open the door. You want to check in here. Want to make sure that all this hasn't been disturbed. If it has, then that pretty much means that they've worked the door before. You know, you'll see clumps of bondo. This is all caulk, it's all dry. That'll be removed and repainted, as you can tell. You want to make sure back here, this drain hole here, as you can tell, is nice and clean. It isn't pitted, it isn't lifting. Another important area you want to take a look at is right around here. All this coming down and across to the back is called
rust.
Yeah, nothing but rust up all and down this pillar right here, in between the door jambs and whatnot. So you got to make sure that all of that is nice and cleaned off. Now for the rocker panel, you want to take a look and make sure that all of this is not caving in. It's not, paint's not lifting, because if it is, again, more money to spend. See, make sure that the seam down here is nice and straight. You may not always find it in that way, but it's good when you do. So now, basically, you want to take a look and make sure that this is all squared up and good. There's a solid door, sits right. All your lines seem to be pretty even. This will be coming off, we'll be fixing that up. Pretty much it's nice and even here. As you can tell, this car has never been disturbed. For 1993, it's in great conditions. You want to make sure that down here, in this area, got no rust buildup. See? Good solid fender here. Just a lot of that good old Texas dirt. We're going to be changing up this front stuff right here, these struts. We're going to bring in the new stuff. We're going to bring in the K member. So this will all be changed up. We'll be able to get in here in a little bit more detail when he goes into paint. The floor pan, as you can tell, everything seems pretty smooth down here. Over here we got a little bending of the lip. So we'll be straightening this side up. It's not rusted, it's not broken. Looks good. What we want to check is that these guys, this is kind of like a lift point for the jack, or people just use this as a lift point for a jack, and they bent this seam, and we're going to have this straightened out because it just aesthetically it looks horrible, and this just creates and promotes more rust to get in here. So we're going to straighten that out. This is one of the things that we were talking about. Be sure that this has to be taken care of. If not, that'll create a little bit of a problem later. These cars were unibody, so we don't have a straight frame on here. So as you can tell, my front portion here, it's all pretty good. It's not rusted. You can see that there is no rust there. So this is basically where we're going to end up putting our brand new subframe connectors to go from front to back. The Stifler setup that was bought, and we had the double setup with the ladders in it, and so it's going to come right in through here just to give this car a little bit more rigidity and keep it nice and stiff. A lot of places that we need to look for in the floor pan are pretty much where they join. So back here you can see where the section meets the other section. So right here there's a lot of rust and a lot of water when people were actually driving in the back, or you get water pile up in the back. Here is where it tends to rust out. In the front by your feet, as you can tell, this car is completely clean underneath here. We don't have,
and is there,
it's nice and solid.
What is this? Is there
This is a. This is just a seal. It's actually here. This is a water seal, so In case you ever get water in the car, you lift the carpet up, you pop this off, and water will drain out of here.
If you leave it there, what will happen if you do not drain it?
If you don't ever drain this out, if you have a water situation in your car, you don't drain this out, this eventually becomes a big pot and just holds water, which then with the carpeting and moisture, it's just a haven for rust, and that's just exactly what we don't need in the car, is any more car cancer to it, especially when these old. You know, they tend to rust up pretty bad. We'll be taking care of all this with some Pro 15 just to make sure that the undercoating doesn't get damaged out here. So that's a couple other things that we will be taking into doing to this bad boy to keep it a little. This impact shock for the bumper, basically you want to look in here, because this bad boy gets all rusted and he builds up rust in here, and inside your frame he goes inside of here. So you always want to make sure that this is nice and solid. You know, there's no rust back in here. This is just weld, it's not rust. You know, this car is like ridiculously clean. You know, you want to take a look at this. As we said, this is a unibody car, so this is the second frame to the car, which runs forward. You want to make sure this guy right here is nice and solid as well too, which will lead us into now we're looking for to see if this wasn't damaged, this wasn't hit, this wasn't turned, they didn't race this too hard. You always want to make sure that the torque reinforcements here are not cracked, they're not damaged, because for the new stuff you don't want to see the car kind of dogtailing, or dog tracking is what they call your ass is kind of like moved off. That's what you want, and that's what a lot of people do to these cars when they race them. So you want to make sure that all of this right here is going to be nice and soft, nice and firm. It ain't twisted up. Make sure that torque reinforcement is good. Yeah, you can tell all of this is nice and solid. It isn't kinked, it isn't twisted. This is the upper control arms up here, or just to stabilize the axle. We're not going to be using this. We're going to be moving into a IRS suspension, Cobra IRS suspension. So it's independent rear suspension. So this all will be gone, but we need to make sure that all of this back here, see the frame is nice and solid. Also a floor pan, nice and solid. We don't have to go through the trouble we went through with Reckless, where we actually did the whole floor. So here you can tell all this right here, nothing of rust. This is all solid welds. You know, want to make sure this is your muffler hanger. Again, this will be gone. We got our brake lines and fuel lines. We got to reroute those. But other than that, I mean, it's just nice and solid down here. Over here, we got a good control arm. Everything looks great. All the screws, you could see that they're basically like brand new almost. So this was never beat up. Everybody just kind of looked at it. It's a little guy that isn't going to do much, but he is clean. This guy's clean, and what we're going to do to him is going to be even better. Move this. So basically, again, one of the things that we always want to look for, and as far as rust, to save time, you want to look at your front floor pans. So let's take a look under this carpet. There we go.
People spill, drains, and
some padding. You know, this is just some glue, but nice and solid, no rust. There's been no damage here, and you could see from this angle, you could probably see the back side of the pillar. Looks nice and clean, no rust in there. So that door pillar looks nice and steady. Hasn't been hit, hasn't been touched. So we haven't had a fire or anything in here. All our caulk in here is nice and solid. This will all be cleaned up, and we will probably be laying down some fresh Dynamat in here once we get this all cleaned up. So in here, we're pretty much looking here to see all of this right here, all this structure, all this in here. You want to make sure you can even see straight down in here, down to the fender. It's all nice and straight. This car has never been hit. That's what I'm really looking for. I'm really looking for anything that's crunched up and kind of all marred and out of shape. So inside here, inside by the headlight, all this right here needs to be nice and straight. You want to take care of that. You want to make sure you look at this. Also, your radiator support up here, the bottom seems to take a hit sometimes. This guy, like I said, never raced, just your mild use, and it looks nice and straight. Nothing, a little cleanup, a little sand work, a little. So basically all of this right here is just pretty much from factory, just to show you that this car was super clean. It was very well taken care of. All the stickers, everything's on here. Again, Can't say too much about that great Texas weather not damaging cars. Our trans tunnel, nice and solid. No damages to the firewall. No alterations done to it. So this looks good. Just a little bit of rust from the AC system, but that's nothing bad. One of the good important parts that we always have to look at right here is make sure this part right here, when your new K member sits in, you're going to have to get new screws. This part right here is nice and solid. It isn't pitted, it isn't cracking, it isn't full of rust. This is support, especially again how we talked earlier along the frame. Very important. You ready, man? So we're going to be sending him off to our buddy for paint work and body work. Unlike Reckless, we had a lot of body work that had to be done. We had back quarters, we did new fender with the 2015 Coyote Illuminator that we've been working on. I apologize, people, that it's not done yet. Please bear with me. Basically what we're looking for, it's going to be a simple paint job. We're going gunmetal gray with this bad boy. So John doesn't have a lot of work to do, just pretty much sanding up and cleaning up. We have a couple dings that we need to take care of. We have one up here in the roof area, right here. We gotta take care of that. We'll need to take care of these guys right here, because again, as you can tell, the paint's been beaten, sun beaten pretty bad. We're gonna have to get restored. We have a guy that takes care of these for us. We'll be sending these out to him. A couple of the areas, make sure that nothing in here is damaged. This is plastic, so that's not too bad. But in here, it tends to collect a lot of rust in between there, and it's just dry and heat. Trunk, nothing bad. Bumper, it's got little scuff marks, nothing too serious that can't be taken care of. We have a couple here on this side, right here, in here, and then that's a nice one. But again, this is nothing serious for us that we should be like, this can't be repaired. Again, this window will be sent out to get repaired. They don't make this window for this car, so it'll have to be redone. We have a guy that sent that out too.
A dent on the roof right here.
Yeah. Then we have a nice little dent. We have one right here in front. I think I saw another one in here somewhere, but probably not catching it right now. But we know we have a little dent right here in the roof. We'll take care of that guy off. The doors are great. The doors have never been hit. No dents on the door. It's got a little dimple here. You know, that's good. You don't want to see gross push-ins. That doesn't help out a car. Nice straight crease lines down here. Fantastic. And again, we have little nicks here on the front bumper. Nothing too serious.
It will be sanded down.
So it'll be sanded down. It'll all be repainted, and then we'll be bringing in the new headlights, taking care of these old weather yellow beaten ones. Bringing in the smoke setup that we've seen on
that you did with a 93 GT.
That we did with our 1993 GT hatchback that we call Sergeant Reckless. The whole point of this build is to bring awareness to veteran suicide. They say about 20 a day. We're going to restore this bad boy, and his name will be the Grunt. This project, this is the Grunt. It's a 1993 Ford Mustang LX. This is the Stifler setup for the notch that we're going to be using. It goes from front to back to connect the to just stiffen up the body for the unibody. So what we have here, we have our two sides that go to the frame rail, and then this is just support, and then we have our ladders over here on this side. The Stifler system was used before on our 1993 GT Fox with the hatch. That's what we put on him. And the reason we did that, we have the 2015 Coyote Illuminator in there, and to keep that car nice and steady, we have to have this on there because again, it's the unibody tends to twist. So you don't want that to happen to these cars. Once you start getting that into, you're just dealing with a whole bunch of garbage. So do not let that happen to your car. Don't cheap out on it. Get the double set up. So you have the two, you have the ribs, you have the side rails over there, and all of this will have to be welded on there once you get the car once you get the car into paint.
All right.
The Grunt, or our 93 notch, was a little 4-cylinder vehicle, and we're just gonna go slightly bigger to our friend right here. This is our 2015 Coyote with a Roush 3 setup. At the moment, he runs an MT82 transmission. This is a stainless work setup. It's a Roush setup, so this is not by factory, I don't think. Somebody actually played around with this engine and had a little bit of fun with it. So they set up these nice, the nice long tube headers. They had what looks to be an X-pipe system. We did not pick up. We just got the resin. So the engine itself had 19,000 miles on it. So we'll be having a practically brand new engine in this nice 1993 clean little notch. Let's make that grocery getter just a little faster.
Dude, they're gonna...
Let me see if we can rotate her here, because it is a little heavy. There we go. We got this on a salvage pick from a wrecked Roush. So that's the whole point of the Grunt. We're gonna get restored, refurbished, used parts, and it's more of a budget build than it is a clean brand new build. Back to their shine. We just need a little bit of like a brass or something to get it off of there. But yeah, we can bring these back to life. They look great, man. They're in really good condition. They're not damaged. They're not bent. You know, so these will work out perfectly fine. We're in the money with this guy.